Hey everyone, welcome to the first video in a series that I'm going to call The Terrible Technician, where I try to do a bunch of routine maintenance tasks without the aid of Google or YouTube. I'm going to warn you, I'm a pretty mechanic. I usually rely on my local bike shop to help me out with a bunch of stuff. Hence the name, The Terrible Technician. The first video is going to be my attempt at truing a rotor and then to replace that rotor. I went over the bars last weekend and now my rotor's bent. So just to show you, when I spin this wheel, oh gosh, it doesn't even want to go. And then it'll come off the brake pads and be fine, and then... So I've got my tools. I've got a brand new rotor that I'm going to be putting on. I've got my rotor truing tool, and I've also got a torque wrench to make sure once I put the new one on, I apply the right amount of pressure. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to find out where this rotor is getting stuck. So it's getting stuck there. I roll it around. Oh God, it's pretty bad. It's still stuck, still stuck. And then it goes a couple rotations until it gets stuck again. So I'm going to use this tool and I'm going to try to find the spot where it's bent and bend it back and see if I can get this wheel to spin without any friction. If I hold the camera here, you should be able to see which side it's getting stuck on, which side of the pads, and that side is the inside. So I know that I need to bend it out. Right. It's like that scene in E.T. where he builds the machine to phone home. And it's like he almost doesn't believe it's gonna work. And it does. Now, when I first wrecked, it was really bad, and I had already put, basically I just used my hands and bent it back. This is great. I did it! Goal 1 accomplished. Alright, so the next thing that I have to do is remove the DT Swift's through axle, which I actually haven't done before. So once it's open and loose, you just keep on twisting it, and then eventually you should be able to pull out your axle, right? Oh God, I gotta put this somewhere where it's not gonna get crap all over it. I've been sawing boards in here for the last 2 weeks building this workbench. All right, the wheel is off. Let's try to replace the rotor. It looks really similar to the way a car is. So I think this is called like a 6-point, I believe, but I'm just gonna replace it and put it on. Oh, great. All right, well, I'm not replacing it in this video because look right there, center line 180. It's a 180 millimeter rotor, and the rotor that I got right here is 160 millimeters. Womp womp. So at least I have it trued for the race this weekend. All right, so I think I got things right this time. You may have seen it on my Instagram, but I have a bomb looking rotor for my rear tire. All right, the current screws and the new screws both take Torx wrenches. to make sure not to pull your brakes, because if your brake pads get stuck together, you are kind of screwed. Oh, it is still pretty bent. Okay, old rotor off. Cha-cha. New rotor looks so cool. So far, I'm picking easy stuff like truing a rotor and then replacing a rotor, but it's gonna get more and more complex eventually. I'm gonna have to start looking stuff up, or I'm gonna start screwing stuff up. The last thing I wanna do is to spend money on stuff and have it not work because I'm a dum-dum and I'm really stubborn. Figured out the trick to this thing, and the trick is, once I set the gauge, which you see right here, it is set to 0.4, which is 4 Newton meters. I apply the right amount of torque to one of the bolts. What happens is you'll see it bend. See that give? That means I've hit the appropriate amount of torque. Well, I screwed something up, so I'm working on it. Ah, it's still rubbing.
That's sad. It's totally sad.
What I found out is that I did everything right the first time. So what I have to do now is that these SRAM guide Rs are actually not compatible with the Hope rotors. And what's happening is that these parts right here on the rotor that connects the inner ring to the outer ring, which is supposed to keep this inner ring from getting hot, only this outer ring, these are rubbing on the inside of my caliper. So in order to not have to go out and buy another $60 rotor or whatever it costs to get a nice 180 millimeter rotor, what I'm going to do is take off my tire and sand the inside of the caliper. Tire's off. No! All right, I gave up and I got myself a different rotor that doesn't have the inner ring and outer ring. So let's check it out. No rubbing. Womp womp.
That's much, much better. Yes, more like it.
So that means I have a really expensive Frisbee here if anyone wants it. I don't know if you can see in here, but on this side, see the silver where I was sanding it? So notice how far off the rotor it sits right now. It sits a little bit off, but on that other rotor, it was rubbing, so whatever. That'll do it for this first installment of The Terrible Technician. Make sure to smash the thumbs up, subscribe, click the bell to get notifications so that you don't miss me struggling in my garage from here on out. As always, everybody, stay shreddy.